Alright, I promised it. Here it is. Here are my top 20 worst albums of 2023. Believe it or not, I don't actually like talking negatively about music. So this is, I'm gonna try and go through this a bit quicker than the top 50 because I don't want to be sitting here talking about stuff that brings me pain.
When the good times are rolling on me, I got plenty in my pocket if you're ever in need.
Coming in at number 20, we have Lucas Graham 4, the Pink album, I guess is what it's called. Yeah, there's just really no original ideas on this thing at all. Every track sounds like either a ripoff of AJR, Ed Sheeran, Maroon 5, or Dua Lipa.
Let's live like it's 1984.
Coming in at number 19, we have Ben by Macklemore. There is some vulnerability shown on here, which I guess is the one positive that I can give this, but it is overshadowed by some awful features, really tacky production, and just terrible attempts at making pop music. Coming in at number 18, we have The Album by Jonas Brothers. Yes, that's the title. It's called The Album. Okay, are they trying to do something ironic? And maybe, but either way, it's stupid. Now, it is pretty apparent that the Jonas Brothers put some heart into this album, but man, the mixing is awful. The compression is horrible. It's horribly overcompressed, and the lyrics on this thing are just cringe. I don't know who is listening to a Jonas Brother or a Jonas Brothers album in 2023. I guess I am. Coming in at number 17, Endless Summer Vacation by Miley Cyrus. This album is just full of corporate edginess. What I mean by that is just completely clean and the furthest thing from edgy, but trying to be edgy and trying to do it in a way that feels like it was written in a boardroom by 5 40-year-old white men. Production on here is tacky as well, and it just has an overall lack of cohesion, and it's a pretty painful listen. Coming in at number 16, we have Rush by Mainskin. Pretty much this entire album is just a Ford truck commercial. It's just complete truck commercial core. It is so unlikable, so boring, and yeah, just horrible. Coming in at number 15, we have Lil Pump 2 by Lil Pump. This album was actually kind of fun for like the first 4 tracks, but after that it just gets so mind-numbingly repetitive that it feels like a chore to get through. Of course, you have that punk rock, what is the song called? I don't even know. There's like a rock track on here that is laughably bad. Lil Pump's career just continues to go down the drain, and I don't think there's much he can do unless he does some sort of drastic switch up. I mean, this kind of had somewhat of a switch up on this album with those rock tracks, but man, this thing is just sloppy and not fun to listen to. Coming in at number 14, we have Tech by Lil Tecca. This is literally AI generated trap music. Most of these tracks feel insanely long, while most of them also just barely clock in at 2 minutes, which is quite the feat for Tecca to do. He's completely uninteresting on this album. His vocals are so dime a dozen, and yeah, there's just nothing really stand out about this project at all. Coming in at number 13, AJR, The Maybe Man. Now, I'm a little bit surprised they're not in the top 10. I'm surprised they're not higher, but honestly, this is probably their best album. I mean, that's saying a lot that even their best album is on my top 20 worst of the year. Yeah, this is their best annoying to not annoying ratio on an album, and I don't know why I'm praising this album. This should be, I mean, it's in the worst albums list for a reason, but I mean, the Dumb song is actually pretty good. It has some redeeming qualities to it, but for the most part, this album is just the same old AJR. They mention that they know that they need to grow up, but the majority of the writing doesn't reflect that at all. This album is still very immature. It is a step in the right direction, but there's still a lot of work that AJR has to do before they can make something that I will actually enjoy, you know? And that shouldn't be their goal. Their goal shouldn't be to please me, but That's just, I guess their music just isn't for me. Alright, coming in at number 12 is Sex, Money, Drugs by Lucky. That title pretty much lays it all out there. This is the most generic and heartless and bland trap record I've probably heard this year. Yeah, Lucky sounds awful on this. His vocal delivery sounds like he just woke up, or like he's unintentionally on the verge of crying. His flows are messy and unorganized, and there's just a complete lack of any vocal presence or charisma at all. I seriously do not see the hype. I see people calling this experimental trap. I just can't wrap my mind around it. I don't get it. Alright, coming in at number 11 is Austin by Post Malone. Posty went for some more singer-songwriter, kind of indie rock kind of stuff on this album, and that would be fine if the production didn't sound like absolute crap throughout the entire thing. It's probably some of the worst production I've heard this year. Every single second on this album is extremely overcompressed to the point where it loses any and all personality. Post's writing is also just really bad on this album. There's a line where he says, "I could play that pussy like it's for Elise." I can't believe that just came out of my mouth. I can't believe that's a line someone wrote down. Yeah, this album, it's laughably bad at points. This album had me kind of losing my mind with how horrible it sounded. It's Alright, we're moving into the top 10 here. At number 10 is Shrem for Life by Ray Shremmerd. I don't know why this is a thing. I feel like nobody's asking or wanting a Ray Shremmerd album in 2023. The production here is so generic. Most of it sounds just like YouTube-type beats that they found in 5 minutes. The performances are so low effort that it doesn't even sound like the duo wants to be making this album. It also has a contender for one of the worst songs of the year with Not So Bad, in parentheses, Lean's Gone Cold. It's a laughably terrible song and has one of the most poorly integrated samples I've ever heard. This is another one of those albums where I did get a little bit enjoyment out of it just because of how bad it was, but man, the execution on this thing is just awful.
You did me wrong. What I do? Acting a smoochie when I'm off the liquor.
Alright, this might be a little bit controversial, but at number 9 is Like by Ice Spice. And yes, I know this technically isn't an album, it's an EP, but this EP just feels so low effort. It feels like Ice Spice just releasing something to get a quick stream, get a quick buck, and it doesn't feel like there's any passion or effort put into this at all. I do think Ice Spice actually has some potential. I think her feature on Boy's a Liar Part 2 is probably my favorite feature from her, so I think she has potential in the future to do some interesting things, but this EP just really isn't it. Her one-dimensional flows don't do much for me. The energy isn't there. There's just nothing all that interesting about this EP, at least. Again, there's potential there, but it's just not really there yet on this project.
When I kissed you back, I lied.
Alright, coming in at number 8, I have Good Riddance by Gracie Abrams. Gracie Abrams brings absolutely nothing interesting or original to this album. She's literally just a Phoebe Bridgers clone that lacks the songwriting and vocal chops to create anything on the same level as Phoebe. I'm so sick and tired of these Billie Eilish, Phoebe Bridgers, indie, breathy delivery, cursive singing, ripoffs, whatever you want to call it. It's so boring, it's so tired, it's so overdone at this point, and this album is just a perfect example of that. Okay, coming in at number 37, not 37, coming in at number 7 is 30 Seconds to Mars and their album, It's the End of the World, but It's a Beautiful Day. I can't really remember much from this album, and that's maybe the worst sin that an album can commit is just being so wallpaper and so boring and plain that you can't remember a single thing about it. I mean, I have notes here. I wrote down that it's 30 minutes of Imagine Dragons ripoffs, horribly sugary radio filler, and some of the most inhuman and cliche writing that you'll ever hear. So I guess those are my thoughts, okay? But to be honest, I don't even really remember much about this album at all. So there you go.
NYMPHOLOGY, that's anthology.
All right, number 6 is Portals by Melanie Martinez. Everything about this album is gross, both the music and Melanie Martinez herself. I'm gonna just talk mostly about the music because that's what this video is about. The music is stiff, it's unflattering and basic pop that is posing as something edgy and different. The vocals are babyish and horrible. The production is tacky, and the writing, of course, is just disgusting.
I ain't that cool, a little fucked in the head. They'll be hanging me quick when I'm back from the dead.
Coming in at number 5 is One More Time by Blink-182. I see some people praising this, and I just really don't see it at all. This is probably the most embarrassing album of the year. Like, I feel like I legit got secondhand embarrassment listening to this thing. It's like watching a middle-aged dad try to be edgy and cool and fit in with the teens, you know? Not to mention, this thing sounds horrible. It's overcompressed. The production and the mixing is so sloppy and muddy. The vocals are so pop-punky that they almost feel like parody, and there's just a complete lack of self-awareness across this entire thing.
I wanna say I wish that you never left.
Oh gosh, okay, they keep getting worse. I mean, that's the point of this. At number 4, Broken by Desire to be Heavenly Sent by Lewis Capaldi. This is Ed Sheeran if he sounded constipated. When Capaldi tries to go for more emotional performances, they just become completely laughable because this guy cannot sing to save his life. His vocals are so strained and raspy, and it sounds like he's dying in the middle of these tracks. And then you pair that with just the extremely bland and emotionless production. It feels like it's trying to make me feel something, but the execution is not there. The taste isn't there, and there's just such a lack of skill on this album. It's honestly kind of hilarious.
Oh God, might catch me at the award show.
Alright, number 3 is Hope by NF. See, this is where me reading my notes comes in, bites me in the butt, because I literally just wrote, I hope that NF stops making music. Like that was funny or something, I don't know. Yeah, this is just some really cringy, over-dramatic Christian rap, I guess. Yeah, the Eminem clones are kind of getting out of hand, and I just, like I said, I hope that NF stops making, maybe not music altogether, but maybe just this type of music, because I think it's really tacky, and I don't get it.
So high like I'm on Everest. I ain't never coming down, I ain't never coming down.
Alright, number 2 is technically another EP. This is To Whoever Wants to Hear by Dream. Dream might just be the most boring singer I've ever heard in my life. There's literally nothing memorable about this project whatsoever. The writing, production, and singing is all completely lacking bite, substance, and personality. It is pretty much AI-generated pop. That is the best description you can give this is just AI-generated. It is so soulless.
So dramatic when I rap, but I'm not mellow when I do it, so it's not overreacting.
And coming in at number 1, I feel a little bit bad putting this here because Wyatt James is a small kind of artist, but just the way this guy portrays himself on TikTok and stuff, he seems like he's kind of got a big ego, so maybe I don't feel that bad. I don't know. This is Fuck Eating on the Weekend by Wyatt James. Easily the worst album of the year. The production on this thing is so awkward. The different sounds that Wyatt uses do not go together at all. Now, the production maybe is the best part of this album, which is saying a lot because I just said how terrible it is. But yeah, Wyatt's flows are awful on this. It feels like he's running away from the beat for most of these songs. The writing is trying to be deep, but is just painfully surface level. And yeah, Wyatt just does not have the skill yet as a rapper to be tackling these flows that he's trying to do. There's clear Eminem influence here. There's clear Kendrick Lamar influence. You can tell Wyatt's trying to do these complicated flows that maybe are a little bit off kilter, but he just crams way too many words into certain bars, and the delivery just completely falls apart because of that. It's so messy. It's such an ear sore. And yeah, this entire album is just the holy grail of bad when it comes to music this year. So yeah, there you go. Those are my top 20 worst albums of 2023. This was a pain to film. I feel like there's some channels on YouTube where they really thrive talking about bad music. I don't know if it's for me. This is the first time I've ever done like a worst list, and yeah, it's painful to talk about. It's not fun. Anyone who watches my reactions and thinks that I like to hate on music because maybe I say one negative thing about their favorite artist or their favorite album, I just urge you to think again, because this video was such a freaking pain film and even think about, because these albums are just, yeah, they're horrible. Yeah, that's gonna do it. Those are my top 20 worst albums. Yeah, I obviously missed stuff. Let me know your worst album of the year down below. Let me know if I missed anything. Yeah, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.